This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, we're back on. We're almost there. Just a few more ideas about the greatness of Sir Moses Montefiore. Obviously, we'll speak more about him, his personality at the Kever and Bez Hashem in the Shul. But I want to continue in the Sefer Derachav L'Moshe, Reb Chaim Filagi. Just to make it clear, Reb Chaim Filagi wrote an entire Sefer just about Sir Moses Montefiore. That's the entire subject of the Sefer. It's printed in the volume that has 3 Sfarim. It has Chaim Tchila and a Sefer about the greatness of Eretz Yisrael as well. Now, Reb Chaim Filagi sort of frames the Sefer, in describing the greatness of Sir Moses Montefiore in terms of the fact that he excelled in Torah, in Avodah, and in Gemilas Chasadim. So he begins to describe how Moses Montefiore excelled in Torah. Number 1, this blood libel casts great aspersions on the Torah, puts the Torah in very bad light. It's a chil Hashem if the Gentiles think that we have this practice. And Reb Chaim Filagi says we know that nothing could be further from the truth. Aside from the fact that we're not allowed to do it, there are 3 Isurim involved in such a practice. Number 1, Shvichas Damim. Number 2, consumption of Dam. And to put blood in matzah, the matzah becomes chametz. So obviously that there could be nothing further from the truth. Says Reb Chaim Filagi, I, the young man in Izmir, I swear that the Jewish people would never commit an act like this, to the extent where I took upon myself that I was going to publicly swear in front of the councilmen of the sultans and the officials of Turkey on a Sefer Torah that something like this would never happen. And I actually got up to do something like this, but the other Rav was out of town, and I decided not to do it on my own because I thought it would be yuhara, it would be arrogance for me to do it on my own, and it never materialized. But anybody who knows me knows that I've never sworn in my entire life. And for this I was prepared. I swear now, and I would swear publicly on a Sefer Torah. And he writes, I praise the rabbis in the Ir Lundris. Which city is the city of Lundris? London, that's where you live, guys. In the city of London, who got up and they did swear that the Jewish people would never commit an act like this. Agavorcha, the Reb Chaim Filagi mentions from the Abarbanel in Yechezkel Perek Lamed Vav Pasuk Yud Gimel that the phenomenon of the blood libel is already predicted by the Navi. Yan oimrim lachem oichelas damat. Now I want to tell you something. When I gave a shir on this recently, I didn't mention it because I want to save it for Parshas Vayeshev. I want to tell you, but therefore this is going to be the first time I'm saying it this year. Reb Chaim Filagi then reveals the reason for blood libels, why God has allowed for it to happen for the Jewish people. Now, this is an idea I've seen in the writings of Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, Zertzak Levracha, Shem Yimkom Damai, and Rabbi Chanan says that if he's wrong about this, Hashem should forgive him for saying this. But what's amazing to me is that Rav Chaim Filagi already preceded Rabbi Chanan in writing this, that the reason for the blood libels is that it's a punishment to Klal Yisrael for the sin of Mechiras Yosef, for dipping Yosef's tunic in blood and claiming falsely that was the first blood libel. They said that Yosef died and this is the blood, so Mida Keneged Mida, we were punished throughout the ages with the bloodline. Now, that's what Rabbi Chanan writes. Rabbi Chaim Filagi adds that the reason why God made the blood libels happen through Pesach, through the matzah, is so that we'll be protected through the performance of a mitzvah. The fact that the blood libel comes through the performance of a mitzvah offers a degree of protection for the Jewish people. So now, number one, Moses Montefiore protected the honor and the dignity of the Torah. Number two, as we mentioned earlier, wherever Moses Montefiore went, he always visited the Chachamim. He showered them with lavish gifts, and he was Mechabed Talmidei Chachamim. So that's the second way that Moses Montefiore was Mechabed the Torah. And the third way is he literally rescued Talmidei Chachamim. He rescued Rabbi Yaakov Antebi, Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael, and as we mentioned, the Malbim will speak about that further on. So that's how Moses Montefiore excelled in Torah. Let's talk about Avodah. As we mentioned earlier, he got off the boat. Where did he go? First stop, the shul in Izmir to daven with a minyan, and even just sitting in the shul. We know sitting in the shul is a mitzvah. You know that if you have nothing better to do with your life, and your wife says, get out of the house. You know the joke about the guy who it's Erev Pesach, and the wife says a few days before Pesach, listen, I know you're not going to do anything for Pesach, just do me a favor, get out of my hair, just leave the house. He says, what am I supposed to do? I don't know, figure it out, just get out. You don't have to clean, you don't have to cook, just leave. So the guy doesn't know what to do, so he leaves. He first goes to the bakery, he gets himself a Danish, then he goes to the Beis Medrash, he doesn't even know what to do over there. He turns up the sefer right side up, upside down. But you should know, just sitting in a Beis Medrash, even as long as you don't have your phone on you, just sitting there is a mitzvah. Shenemar, Ashrei, Yoshvei, Veisecha. The guy comes back like an hour later. She says, I don't understand. I didn't ask you to clean. I didn't ask you to cook. I just said, get out of the house. He says, the whole day I have to help you? Thank you. That's the avodah of Sir Moses Montefiore. He excelled in avodah, and then Gemilas Chasadim. Interestingly, normally if you go on a job and you're committed to the community, so they pay your bills, right? If let's say you go somewhere, so you get paid, they pay for your food, they pay for your board. That's the way things work. Moses Montefiore, when he traveled, he paid for his own expenses. When he ate, he paid for his own food. Not only did he pay, wherever he went, he paid and gave out money to other people. So the Medrash says, normally when someone's working for the company, their expenses are paid, not with God. When God sent Moshe and Aaron and Miriam to take us out of Mitzrayim, not only were they not paid, but in their zechus, they fed the Jewish people. Moshe gave us the man, Aaron gave us the anan, Miriam gave us the be'er. So Moses Montefiore is following in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that his agents, the agents of God, not only do they not get paid, they pay others. And therefore, Moses Montefiore demonstrated the following very interesting halachic principle. What's the halacha? If someone's life is in danger on Shabbos, and they need to be rescued by having the Shabbos desecrated, who should desecrate the Shabbos? A regular guy? A regular Joe, a simple person? No, there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. The Gedolei Yisrael are commanded to be the ones to desecrate the Shabbos, dafka, to save the person. People think, it's a bizayon, maybe someone who's not so observant should desecrate Shabbos to save. No, dafka, the Chachamim and the Gedolei Yisrael are given this great honor of desecrating the Shabbos to save the life of another Jew. Says Reb Chaim Filagi Chidush, not only if you desecrate the Shabbos to save a Jew should be done through Gedolim. Whenever Jewish lives are at, by the way, during the Holocaust, the Gedolim would fundraise on Shabbos, Davka, to be able to collect money to save Jewish lives. Rav Kamenovich, Rosh Yeshiva the Mir, went around on Shabbos. And it's supposed to be done by the Gedolei Yisrael. Says Reb Chaim Filagi Chidush. And what if it's a Tuesday and somebody's life is in danger? Who should save their life? Also Dafka, the Gedolei Yisrael. The fact that it's not only on Shabbos that the Gedolei Yisrael should be involved in saving lives. This is something that we give the honor to the great people to save people's lives. And Reb Chaim Filagi writes, this is very reasonable. To save a Jewish life when they're in trouble with the government, you need someone who has the capability and the wherewithal and the talent to be able to discourse and converse with officials and governors. If you're going to send some shlamazel into the Sultan's court to argue on behalf of a Jew in peril, you're just going to make things worse. And therefore, Moses Montefiore fulfilled this halacha, that when Jewish life is at stake, you don't send someone else, you don't say, can you do me a favor? the Gadol B'Yisrael, and says, Reb Chaim Filagi, since the Rabbanim were in trouble, who is even greater than anybody in our generation that could stand up and talk to the Sultan and rescue the greatest of the great? If ein chavush mater atzmai mibeis ha'asurim, only Sir Moses Montefiore, Melech Yisrael v'goy alai, could come and rescue the rabbis from their trouble. And Reb Chaim Filagi also pays homage to Rothschild and to Montefiore's attorney, Kramai. I think he's from France. But the book is about Sir Moses Montefiore, and if you want, you could contact us, put in a request. You could send your message to Josh, or go to rabbidg.com and say you want the Mara Makoimos of the first two little classes we had here. And on the final page we have a beautiful picture of Sir Moses Montefiore at his 100th birthday. My bracha to you is, may you look so good on your 100th birthday. And then we have a picture of Montefiore when he arrived in Egypt to meet with the son of the Ben of Muhammad Ali. He was wearing his royal clothing. He was a sheriff. He held many official positions in London, and Bez Hashem will speak about him more when we get to Makom Menucha. Thank you very much. And just before we close, a very big yashikayach to Yedidi Reb Josh Morhaim for arranging this whole trip and for giving me the opportunity to join you here across the pond. Thank you very much, Reb Jeff Dennis, for taking charge of admission and security and all other available services on this 5-star voyage led by Shlomo Ben Weish. Thank you, Reb Shlomo. You're Menahig Yisrael Be'ahava. Thank you.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.